and welcome back to this i24 News Evening Edition. I'm Lucy Arish and this is One on One. Tonight, an exclusive interview with Tom Hanks. i24 News international analyst Christian Malard sat down with award-winning actor while he was in Paris. With me in the studio tonight is i24 News cultural correspondent Shachar Peled to discuss the legendary actor's career. And I have to say, Tom Hanks' #1 fan. Right.
That is true, yes. I'll start with a confession. He has been for many years one of my personal favorites. I know he's considered a bit goofy and, you know, a sort of a walking cliche of the all-American hero, but it's a consensus. He's lovable and he's very talented. Yes, I'm sort of a groupie, but I'll try and be objective as far as I can. He's back with a new film, once again, the all-time Yankee hero, this time in Captain Phillips, said to be actually by critics one of his best performances, most convincing and best performances he had in years. Like many performers, he has had his ups and downs, but this time he's definitely back and very on the road, on the path. Yes, on the horse.
On the horse, because I will discuss this, one of his best roles in the last few years, because he had some ups and downs during these last few years. But what is the movie about?
Well, this time it's based on a true story. It's based on the memoir of the real Captain Richard Phillips. The 2009 ship he was commanding was abducted by Somali pirates. This was the first time in 200 years that an American ship had been successfully abducted, and this tells the tale of this ship and the rescue effort of the American military throughout it.
So we will right now see the interview, and then we'll go back and we will discuss a little bit about Tom Hanks.
Lucky Malard,
who sat down in Paris and interviewed Tom Hanks. Unfortunately, not here in the studio. Let's see.
Great to see you and welcome to this interview for i24 News. I feel like telling you, no tricks, Irish.
I'm not Irish, but you got it. No.
I want to get the truth about this movie. I really did appreciate, full of symbols, full of contrasts. I just wanted to ask you, would you say that through Captain Phillips, you are the impersonation of a captain obsessed with security, obsessed with the defense of Western interest versus pirates, young pirates off the Somalia coast who hate America, but at the same time wants to get the millions of dollars for a better life?
You know, talking to Rich Phillips himself, who I did a number of times, he is very cognizant of the service the merchant marine provides. He calls himself, we are the truckers, if that's a word that could translate, we are the truckers of the world, truckers of the sea. Those goods are no good sitting in the factory or in warehouses. They have to be transported. They have to be put on a ship and moved across the world by via the oceans. He knows that his job and what he does is one of the key aspects of the global economy. But then he forgets that, because nothing matters more than the safety of the ship. Nothing. That's all that it is. He is a type of man who walks the entire length of your ship twice a day. All he does is to see what could possibly go wrong. And when he's boarded by the Somali hijackers, any concept of worldwide economy goes right out of the way, and all he is interested in, he wants to do one thing and one thing only: get those guys off his ship, get them off the ship, whatever it takes. Here's money, go. Here's food, go. Just go away. A mere $30,000 was not going to be enough. Not going to be enough. Yeah.
So Captain Phillips, that you are, and Paul Greengrass, the director, and Muse, the chief of the young pirates from Somalia, is there a will to show that there is big, huge antagonisms between Western and Muslim culture?
I don't think Paul was interested in the overt differences as opposed to the complete, utter irony of the circumstance. I mean, here in Somalia, a place in which chaos completely reigns, there is no central government, there is nothing but corruption and famine, poverty, and I think, let's all wrap that up under one word: hopelessness. You know, the sense of the future is one that is void of hope. And yet in that country, just a few miles offshore, be it 3 or 100 or 300, goes by every luxury good that the Western world can produce. BMWs, TVs, running shoes, peanuts, whatever it is. And there is a dichotomy, and there is an irony to that. Literally, the haves and the have-nots could not be more obvious, more visual. And from that, and as Paul Greengrass says, is there anything more dangerous than a young man with a gun who has nothing to lose? And the circumstance, I think, with these Somalis who are coming from a very desperate place, leads over to desperate acts. I don't think. I mean, judging from I'm just the actor, but all the work that I've done tells me that I don't think anybody who gets in a small outboard motored powered skiff and tries to go off and threaten people's lives would rather be doing something other than that. You know, they're not biker gangs. They're not Hell's Angels. They're not evil Nazis. And that doesn't excuse them. They do want to be rich, and they want to be rich any way they can. But they're coming from a place where there's very little recourse for them to do something. Hopelessness. I mean, we would all react the same way. Hopelessness makes us do a lot of desperate things, like flee our country and cross a border, and in some cases, rob people.
Did the real Captain Phillips realize that the pirates would have this real hostile attitude to a Western ship?
Actually rather ingenious in that they were able to board it. Prior to that, no big ship had been boarded because the hull is simply too tall. And the desperate men, they made that ladder and got on board. It's funny that in his book, and perhaps every now and again in the film, they always talked about how much they all wanted to go to America. They all wanted to live in America, and they wanted to play basketball like Michael Jordan, and they wanted to wear clothes from the Gap. And there were times when they actually laughed on board the pirate, on board the lifeboat, and had competitions about tying knots and whatnot. But never at any one time did Richard Phillips not worry that one big guy was going to shoot him for no reason. He did not have a vast amount of sympathy for these guys because they were thugs, and they did threaten to kill everybody. And in fact, they tried to a couple of times, if only by spraying automatic firing on the ship. If they had killed somebody, they would not have minded.
Would you say that the skiffs used by the young pirates against the Mariscal Alabama, the huge merchant navy boat, are the symbol of the struggle of poverty and despair versus the Western richness and opulence?
Well, they certainly are symbols. I mean, they certainly are representative. You can't help but think that see the obvious parallels. There is something. If this was just a single painting that you saw, like something by I can't remember the name, the famous American painter. If you were just to see a painting of that time, the hijackers in a tiny skiff, looking at the horizon, and what they saw was this huge, massive, piece of commerce with all these boxes on them, those containers filled with who knows what, riches, food, treasures. You would think, well, that's exactly what the painting represents. And I think the film goes to a lot of different areas, but of terror and responsibility and what have you. But without a doubt, there is something very profound and powerful about these armed men in this tiny boat taking on this massive symbol of how we buy our things,
At some points in the movie, Muse, the chief of the pirates, say, "I went too far, but I cannot give up." Would you say that the purpose he held reflect today the sense of sacrifice, determination, which you, me, and other people sharing our values have trouble in containing? In other words, what was Paul Greengrass, the director, point of views on this issue?
Not to put words into Paul's mouth, but in the philosophical discussions that we've had, I think you and I come from a society where we have many chances. We have second chances, we have third chances. Well, in certain way, absolutely we are. You know, we probably buy too much and we probably eat too much, but, you know, it'd be nice if the entire world had the same opportunities as we do. They don't. The difference in the society is we in the West could say, you know what, this doesn't work out, I'm going to stop and I'll go back and I'll regroup and I'll figure something else out. I don't think in this case, because they come from such a desperate strip of the world, a very dangerous and impoverished place, they might, I don't think they have, they might not have more than one chance. So it is possibility they have bosses, there are threats, they have jobs that they are forced to take on. In this case, get more than $30,000 out of the Maersk Corporation. So when Musi says it was supposed to be, that's another thing. It was just business. It was supposed to be easy. None of this was supposed to happen. But now I'm gone in too far, and I don't think that is not necessarily a place of pride that he's coming from. In our society, we might say, I've come too far to let go. I got to keep going because otherwise my pride is going to be damaged. I think he doesn't want to go back to Somalia empty-handed, because if it is, he might face consequences that are too grim for even him to ponder.
That was Tom Hanks with our Christian Mallard. You're jealous.
How can you not fall in love? Come on.
I can disagree with that, but okay, I'm with you here.
Well, we heard what he said, and I think despite Mr. Hanks talked about it a lot in the interview, I think in its treatment of race and foreign issues, I think the film avoids these issues throughout it. And well, if it deals with it, it's ever so lightly and not deeply enough. It doesn't look deeply enough into the tremendous gap there is between Western society and starving Africa. However, there are no good and bad in this film. You can't really relate to the Somali pirates, but you know, it's an all-American film whatsoever, and there's the Navy SEALs military rescue operation there, which is granted a big stage. But it's still a film that tries to deal with these issues, and that's a good step. And Tom Hanks there, he really does I think he depicts the human trauma in a very, very good way, once again trying to stay objective. And this is something very difficult to be done, and at least in the two final scenes, he's doing a great job and is definitely on the way to the Oscars.
The Oscars?
Yes, I think so. Anyway, this is a very good year for Mr. Hanks, because in the upcoming month, in December, he's got another film called Saving Mr. Banks. This time he's portraying Mr. Walt Disney, the one and only. It's a story of behind the scenes of the making of Mary Poppins, and as they say, the Tom Hanks Oscar vehicle is making a big buzz, and it's on its way. So it's either that film or this one. He's once again in major leading roles with, you know, a lot to give from himself.
We touched this subject before we saw the interview. He didn't have has a lot of good years lately.
Yes,
especially he didn't pick good movies lately.
Well, Mr. Hanks, I think, definitely peaked through the 90s. I think in the 80s he had these lead roles in B movies, Big and Splash and Turner and Hooch. But throughout the 90s, he was a lead role in major movies, the classic Sleepless in Seattle and Apollo 13, and of course the back-to-back Oscar he received for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump. And he's actually the second actor ever to achieve that, Spencer Tracy being the first. And you always say there's the Oscar curse, you know, Oscar-winning performers who, right after the acceptance speech, disappear and their career takes a dive. But actually, Hanks is on the contrary. He's still in business. He hasn't won the Academy Award since, but once he took directing and producing roles, he's done amazing things. His directorial debut, That Thing You Do, wasn't quite a success, but from there he was a producer of From the Earth to the Moon, the HBO series, which was amazing. And he cooperated with Spielberg and has done really many magnificent things. And even though they weren't considered great or Oscar-winning ventures, I think that the film community and the audiences and the critics continue to respect him a lot. And
do you think that he will get back this prestige of being the Tom Hanks?
Well, this is definitely a very good step through that way. I think that as a producer and director, he hasn't had that much of success, and he did take some not so good ways of acting, though he tried, you know, portraying in the film of the Coen brothers, The Lady Killers,
Yes,
or in The Terminal of Steven Spielberg. Those were choices that could have been good, but they weren't very good choices. And I think now he's on a roll. He's doing very clever ventures and clever features that will probably bring him back to where he's used to be.
I think that he has here not only a big fan, but also a very good agent in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Mr.
Absolutely.
Hanks, anytime
Please,
if you need.
but he will have to take you away from us, so we don't want that. Shachar Peled, thank you very much for this. And thank you, our viewers, for being with us tonight. Tomorrow we will be here at the same time, same place from the Jeff Port. Have a great night.